Do you know what your superpower is? Do you know what that thing is that you bring to others that is impactful and makes your world better? Do you know how to leverage it so it's even more powerful and you can do even more with it? No? Well, today we're going to sort that out once and for all so you can bring that awesome part of you to all that you do.
Hey, Creating Maven. I'm Joy Spencer, your Reframe specialist, with one important message. Your real work, it's not your job or your career. Your real work is what you create. And what you create is what sets you apart and makes you incomparable. It's your legacy. I'm here to show you a whole new way of working so you can create with your gifts, make a unique contribution, and finally get paid to be yourself. This is Reframe to Create.
I am not a Marvel fan. Yeah, I said it. I mean, I don't know which Avenger movie we're on right now. Iron Man, Captain America, Thanos. I don't even know if I'm not mentioning people who are not part of the franchise, who are part of a different franchise, because I know like there's DC Comics and stuff. Like, I just don't know or care about this current superhero movie obsession we seem to be in. I just get glimpses of it because everyone around me seems to be into it, and it's unavoidable at this point. These movies are everywhere and coming out constantly. But this doesn't mean I'm a curmudgeon who just doesn't like superheroes outright. On the contrary, growing up, Superman was my man. And specifically, Superman as played by the only true Superman, Christopher Reeves. I have so many scenes from those movies lodged in my brain, like when he spun the world backwards to turn back time and to save Lois, or when he saves Ricky when he was knocked unconscious in a field of wheat, or when he splits in two and battles his evil self, or those crazy hilarious scenes with Richard Pryor and him overcoming his battles with kryptonite. Yes, Christopher Reeves is the definition of a superhero to me. So let's dig into what we can learn from him. What makes a superhero like Superman a hero? It's his superpowers, of course. And what are Superman's superpowers? Well, he's super strong, and even better, he can fly. What else do we know about Superman? Well, he's got a major weakness, the thing that can totally knock him out and make him super vulnerable, and that's kryptonite. It's so funny how kryptonite is now part of the public lexicon, like how search became Google and photocopy became Xerox. Kryptonite means something that renders you completely weak and your superpowers useless. And I'll get to more about that towards the end. But first, there's something about Superman and his superpowers that I think we completely miss. I actually think Superman's true power isn't that he's extremely strong or that he can fly. No, it's deeper than that. His real superpower is this. It's the specific impact he's able to have on others and how he makes them feel. Every time he flies around and saves the day, he makes people feel rescued, safe, cared for, and seen. That's his real superpower. How he makes others feel while he's doing what he does. And this ability to have a specific impact on how others feel is also your superpower. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for any amount of time, I bet you thought I was going to say your superpower is what you create, right? Yeah, I know. And it kind of is in a meta collective sense of how professionals need to start thinking about all these matters. But for you as an individual, your specific superpower is how you make others feel. In episode 30, I told you that your personal brand is not your image or something you say about yourself. It's what you create, a very tangible thing. Well, your superpower is the impact you have on others and how they feel when they experience the things and experiences that you create, when they experience your personal brand in action. Your superpower is how you leave them feeling. Perhaps you make people feel transformed and renewed. Or you bring a smile and laughter to them, filling them with a sense of joy. Maybe you soothe aching bodies or aching hearts. Or perhaps you draw out and make people feel beauty, their own and that of the world around them. When your superpower is in full effect, people keep coming back to you so that they can get the feeling that you spark again and again. Maya Angelou's wise words speak to the impact of your superpower. She said, "At the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or did. They will remember how you made them feel." So, what comes to mind for you when you think about your superpower? When you think about how you make others feel? What is that exactly? What have people said to you about what this is for you? When you're out here creating with your gifts, when you're bringing your personal brand to life, how does that make people feel? This is your superpower, and I want to push the idea a little further for you. Because in pushing it further, it will help you leverage your superpower so you can do even more with it. It's not just how you make them feel. It's not how you make them feel about you. It's how you make them feel about themselves, about their superpowers, about their abilities and possibilities. What are you able to spark in them? Now, beyond this impact, beyond this ability to make people feel something about themselves, there's something else that's important to remember about your superpower. It sits within a context. Let's go back to Superman to understand this. Superman had a mission. That was his context. His mission was to save the world from these super galactic bad guys. Trust me, that's not yours. So relax. But your superpower also sits within the context of a broader mission. And your mission is just as important, well, more important than Superman's, because yours is real and Superman is not. So about your mission. In episode 32, Samuel Sarafel talked to us about this. He shared how being mission-led is the act of approaching your job with the deliberate intent of solving a particular problem. It's how you can work your way out of your job from day one. So as you're thinking about your superpower, this impact that you're able to have, this feeling you're able to elicit in people about themselves, you also want to think about your mission, which is the overall problem that you're ultimately trying to solve. And ideally, solving with something or experience that you create. So these are the three things I want you to keep in mind. First, there's your mission, which represents your why, your cause, the thing you believe in, the change you most want to see in the world, which is why you choose the particular problems you choose to solve. And then there's your superpower, your how, the guiding principle and value that leads you to have the impact you have and elicit the feelings that you do in the people you serve. How you show up and how your showing up makes others feel, and ultimately how it makes them feel about themselves and their possibilities. And then we have your what, the tangible thing, the real lived experience you create with your gifts, and that is your personal brand. These three parts, the why, the how, and the what, are the three parts of Simon Sinek's golden circle, which he shares in his book, Start With Why. And I think these three parts fit in nicely with what I've been sharing over the last few episodes. I didn't plan it that way, but hey, when I was getting this episode together, I drew the connection and realized, hey, it fits perfectly. Simon's golden circle is a bullseye circle, much like that of the prioritization investment circle I shared in episodes 10 and 23. His circle has the why in the center bullseye, then the how surrounding it, and then what is the outer circle. The golden circle is meant to help leaders and really anyone start with their why, to start with the purpose that drives everything they do, because this is the most powerful way to drive action. And really, it's the most powerful way to have impact in the world, whether you're a big business, a small, time entrepreneur, or even an employee in an organization. So let's dig deeper and make good use of this golden circle and the three things I just mentioned that you should think about when addressing them and really setting yourself up to leverage your superpowers. First, your mission. When it comes to this, if you haven't listened to episode 32 with Samuel, you really want to do it. It's powerful, and there are many more insights than just what I'm drawing out today. When you think about your mission, I want you to ask yourself, what do I believe? According to Simon Sinek, a why is an undying belief in a purpose or cause bigger than oneself. We all know people like this, like Steve Jobs. We know that Steve Jobs was on a mission to serve those who were different and creative in the world. He didn't believe in just what was. He believed in the things his imagination was cooking up. His mission was so big and so attractive that it drew the best engineers and designers to Apple and countless customers who wrapped around buildings on iPhone launch days. And trust me, it wasn't just for the product. People believed. They still believe. So for you, what's your mission? What's your why? I know mine is my deep belief that our work is not our jobs or our career, but our work is what we create. I also believe that we don't have to twist ourselves into pretzels in order to fit job descriptions, but rather can and should be paid to be ourselves. I believe there's a way to do this more and more. That's why I'm on a mission to help every professional get this reframe so that they can start creating with their gifts and being paid to be themselves. Because I truly believe that when more people are doing this, we all benefit. What about you? What do you believe? What's your mission? What change do you want to see in this world? What problem are you uniquely suited to solve or contribute to the solution at your job? What do your eyes gravitate to? What irritates you that you want to see change? That's your why. Think about this, because getting your mission clear and being led by it and not just by the current job you're in is going to elevate how you work and how you bring value. Now let's talk about your superpower, how you're showing up and how you're making others feel about themselves. Think about your favorite teacher in school when you were younger. Yes, they were certified teachers, and yes, they were very educated. They had the skills, they knew what they were doing, but that's not what captivated you about them. It was their ability to make you feel like you were smart too. They made you feel like you could learn and that you were somebody and going places. They made you feel like you were the apple of their eye. Even if they had other students who they treated just as well, you were sure that you were their favorite. How they made you feel about yourself and your possibilities was their superpower. It was how they made a mark on your life by making you feel amazing about yourself. This is where humility comes in and being willing to be vulnerable and honest. When you're dashing about being the superhero, when you're using the strengths that you have, how are you leaving people in your wake? Do you know this? Are you brave enough to ask someone? How you do what you do is just as important as the thing that you do. So don't be afraid to look into this. What impact are you having on the people around you? How are they changing in the wake of your presence? How do they see the world differently around them because of you and what you create? How are you lighting up all their senses? How do you make them feel? How do you make them feel about themselves? I know what I hope my superpower is. I hope I'm catalytic. I hope I make you feel like the engine of your heart and imagination are revving up and that you're getting your creating power back and that you can do this. I hope I make you feel alive and creative again. And then as a result, I hope you go out and create those beautiful things and experiences. And then I hope you email me about it at joy@reframetocreate.com so we can celebrate. When you go out into your day today, ask yourself, how will I show up? How will how I'm showing up make others feel about themselves and their possibilities? This is your superpower. And finally, let's talk about your personal brand again, which, as you know from episode 30, isn't some ethereal thing, but is the very real, tangible things and experiences you create with your gifts. This is your what? The specific product, service, experience, or project you create. This is where you need to pour your creating energy, not into being productive or into figuring out how to fulfill job descriptions. Anywhere you are, you need to ask, what will I create? How can what I'm uniquely suited to create be of service here? And this is how they all three interplay and work together. Knowing what your why is, knowing your overarching and driving mission will keep you moving forward and adding value without getting stuck in a comfortable status quo. It'll help you know when the expiration date has finally come due on your job. And while you're there, wherever you are, you'll know what your assignment is. Your assignment is to create tangible things and experiences with your gifts, a clear and lived personal brand. And while you're doing it, you'll be mindful that your superpower is how you make people feel about themselves and their lives and their possibilities as a result of the gifts you've shared. I can hear you now. But Joy, I still don't know what my superpower is, like mine, my own, my very own. Oh, you want to do the hard work, huh? Like the real difficult work. Well, good for you. I'm proud of you for this. Since you asked, I'm going to give it to you. To find out what your own specific superpower is, you're going to interview 2 groups of people. You'll reach out to 3 people in your work life and 3 people in your personal life. And you're only going to ask them one of 2 questions. The first question is this: what's the word you would use to describe how you feel after you've used this thing I've created or experienced this thing I create? Now, here is where you fill in the blank. The part of this thing that I've created or experience I've created. Fill it in the blank with something of your own. So, for example, for me, I could ask this question this way. I could find someone at work or in my personal life and say, what's a word you would use to describe how you feel after you've listened to my podcast? Because my podcast is something specific, a clear product that I'm creating. So for you, you fill in the blank with that, whatever that is for you. And if this person who you're reaching out to doesn't have an experience with something that you've created, or you don't feel you have something that you've created that you want to use this question with, you can try this other question instead. This is the second question you could use. What's a word to describe how you feel about yourself after you've had an interaction with me? Yes, these questions are not for the faint of heart. So I'm going to repeat. So with the first question, you can ask, what's a word you would use to describe how you feel after you've, fill in the blank, used this thing I've created or experienced this thing I've created? And if you want to next level this question, you could also ask, what's the word you would use to describe how you feel about yourself after you've used this thing I've created or experienced? So for me, again, I could say, what's a word you would use to describe how you feel about yourself after you've listened to my podcast, for example? So those are the 2 questions. The first question is asking them a word they would use to describe how they feel about themselves or how they feel after they've experienced what you've created. And then the second one is just asking them, what's the word to describe how you feel about yourself after you've had an interaction with me? Like I said, this is not for the faint of heart. And, you're the one who wants to know how to find out where your superpower is, and I commend you for it. But if you're brave and you trust the people you're asking, this can be a powerful and insightful experience for you. Because if you're going to leverage your superpower, you have to know, you really have to know what it is and how it's landing on the people around you. And furthermore, a word of caution. Remember Superman? Remember kryptonite? Your superpower can become your kryptonite if 1, you're completely unaware of what it is and how you're impacting others, or 2, you have only a superficial knowledge of it, but don't really know from others why exactly it's working for them. So you kind of end up using your superpower like it's a hammer that thinks everything is a nail. We don't want this. We want the goodness of who you are and how you can make others feel more, whatever it is that you bring out of them into this world. Well, that's it for today, my creating maven. Your superpower is not your strengths. It's not your ability to fly around like Superman and lift heavy objects. It's how you make others feel. It's how you make others feel about themselves and what's possible for them. Your superpower sits sandwiched within a broader context of your mission, which is your why, and your personal brand, which is what you create. Your superpower is one of the most special things about you because it creates and sparks beautiful things inside of others. And that is just out of this world. Be brave and ask at least one person, at least one of the questions I shared, and see what you discover about your superpower. See you soon, Creating Maven. Until then, remember to always ask yourself, what will I create?